It's been incredible to watch, looking at solutions to problems that typically take our analysts weeks and weeks to unpick.
What happens when you connect your ERP directly to an LLM like Claude? What can you actually do with it? It turns out quite a lot. True Protein is a supplement manufacturer. They were one of the first companies in Australia to connect NetSuite to Claude using NetSuite's AI Connector service. In this interview, COO and CFO Lachlan Cornwell walks through how long it takes to set up and what their business analysts, who used to spend hours making those reports, are doing now. My name is Sholto. This is Scale 100. Let's investigate. One of the things I really loved from when you're on stage was you're talking about the AI connector for NetSuite, and this connects NetSuite. Is it just to Claude or is it to OpenAI, ChatGPT as well?
Yeah, so I think there's a variety of options there you can pick from, which is great. There's different use cases for different large language models depending on sort of what type of work you're doing or the part of the business that you're in.
But you're with Claude, right?
Correct. Yeah, the major connections that we're making between NetSuite and LLMs is through Claude, and yeah, using the Claude coding and the terminals. And it's been incredible to watch because you're actually looking at some solutions to problems that we've always had in the business that typically take our analysts weeks and weeks to unpick, being resolved in a matter of seconds.
Okay, go to give me an example.
Well, yeah, not only resolved in a matter of seconds, but that exception reporting is being provided to our team members via an API with Slack. So, not all of our warehouse members, for example, when they're looking at some of the reports that are coming through around expiring stock outages, transfer of SKUs between warehouses, NetSuite's not available to everyone downstairs, but through Slack and that API, we can send those reports out and they can just act on what Claude and NetSuite collectively has produced for them.
Gosh, that sounds like a great way to save on NetSuite licenses.
You said it. Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
No, they're well aware. They're well aware. And actually, I think, for the most part, the guys on the floor, they are at the coalface every day and they're moving at lightning speed to get orders out the door, get our finished goods off the line and up into the racking and into our robotics setup. So they're very busy and they don't have time to sit down at a laptop or a desktop and pour through reports and information. They just want it real time that comes to their devices and they can just act on that.
So I use Claude, I use projects so I have fixed things and so on. Does a connector work with projects? Like, can you have a fixed concept that you pin and then come back to and keep asking questions?
Yeah, so the conversations are saved, at least not to my knowledge. You can't use it like, say, a gem in Gemini or creating your own GPT. What you can do is build out standard reporting that's essentially calling that data once a day. You set it up on your terminals and run that data. Those reports are going out daily. In terms of the querying in natural language, conversations are saved, but probably the extension of that is to move into that universe where, it's actually taking your persona, voice, and all the history of all the conversations that are going on within that channel, so that it can pull from that and learn and actually help support you in an even better way.
What would that look like? Like a role? Like when you say persona, like a role saved into Claude?
Yeah, more or less. So, I mean, a standard example that I might use, I've used Gemini and I've set up a COO role, a gem in Gemini for myself, which sort of has my tone, the things that I want to focus on, the way that I like to lead people. I'm not massive on micromanaging, so I want people to be autonomous and use, data and information to make their own decisions. I've set all of that up for myself. So I've sort of got a role in there in Gemini. So in much the same way, I think you could have sort of multiple roles in there, whether it's your marketing teams, also guys in the supply chain space. There's lots of different use cases, I think, which is wonderful to think about and play around with.
Let me guess, you're connected to Slack and when you can't be bothered, just flip it over and no one can tell the difference. It's like, Lucky said yes.
That sounds like him. Yeah. No, actually, what I will say is all the, M dash and quirks that large language models kick back, where people immediately know, hey, it's not you responding. And we've encouraged our guys to not be shy about communicating, hey, I've used AI for this, and share the use case. This is how we did it. Because I think, we transparently, we had some, people who are really concerned, particularly 6 or 8 weeks ago when the latest releases of Claude hit the shelves effectively. lots of people were sort of worried about, hey, what does this look like for me? So for us, it was really about calming everyone down and letting them know that we want people to use AI as their co-pilot and to create scale and speed. But it's not there to replace their brains. Like, we don't want people leaving their brains at the door in the morning and walk into the room and just prompt away. That's really important. I feel like with, and this might just be my philosophical view, but I feel like with large language models, everything's pulling from the same source data. So at some point, you're going to get a lot of reversion to the mean where everyone is going to be asking the same questions and getting the same answers and acting in the same way. So we really want to encourage people to still bring that unique spin on things, the human element. We're a people business and we serve people. So we never want that to disappear. It's super important.
Okay, let's go back to AI connectors.
Yeah.
Give me some of the best things that you're doing with it that have made the biggest difference to the business.
Well, the really fun one is the management report. So, our head of finance, pushed our management report through Claude and was able to generate a podcast for our SLT. Which is great. You sit in the car on the way to work and you can listen to a conversation in 10 minutes, which gives you a quick spin through the month that was.
Well, actually, Kyle and Jackie have quit, so there's an opening.
Hey, yeah, that's it. Honestly, it's quite scary when you listen to it, how real it is. But it's never going to replace a deep dive into the charts and the tables and the numbers. That stuff's really important from a governance perspective to be across that. But in a world where people are so time poor, having those little hacks and those little things that you can do at times where you're under severe pressure, just to be able to be adding value at the table when you sit down to discuss things and being across things generally. I think increasingly people need that, and that's where these types of tools are so helpful. They can just give you enough to be dangerous.
And also it's interesting just from a journalistic perspective to see what the AI thinks is newsworthy enough to discuss in a podcast. Like it'd be funny to just say, oh, that's interesting. They thought this part of the business, but maybe that's random. Who knows?
No, they actually ripped in. They're like, there's a few things you need to look at here and there in the business. I won't say specifically what they are, but it's quite candid feedback, right? Because it's obviously agnostic to how you feel about the situation. Which is also another challenge with AI is, there is a lot of, that sort of positive bias and reinforcement of your ideas when you do push back on it. Oh, you're right. Actually, I got this wrong. So you do need to be careful with it and not take things, at face value. Sometimes things do need more probing and more inquiry. It's not always going to give you the answer you want to hear, and it doesn't understand the nuances of your business always.
So one of the things I'm really curious about, in the keynote, they showed the AI connector being used for reporting. So pulling NetSuite data in, using it for reporting. But this is soon after they'd showed a couple of AI reports from within NetSuite. I was like, hang on a second. So when do you use AI connector for reporting versus all these other AI tools embedded in NetSuite?
Yeah, it's an awesome question, because I think we've got a fantastic CTO who's helping lead all of these initiatives for us. And so we've actually moved to the AI connector so that we can use the large language models as quickly as possible. The NetSuite Next product's incredible as well, because it doesn't require the level of sophistication. All of your prompts can be done within NetSuite. You don't need to be connecting it into other models and making sure that you've got the security parameters and the governance around it right, so that people aren't sharing information publicly that they shouldn't be.
But do you have access? It's not available in Australia yet, is it?
Yeah, so not at the moment, but I think as of today, it's going to be made available, which is a pretty incredible product for people to be able to just start experimenting and querying their own data within NetSuite.
So assuming it works as advertised, will you stop reporting in Claude, or are there use cases there you can see that would make it still worthwhile?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm actually interested to see what sort of responses it gives. I think, when you're probing, let's take, for example, the finance function that are going line by line through the GL, and NetSuite Next is actually probing that level of detail. It's got all the transaction data behind it, accruals, all of that stuff. I can see the NetSuite Next product actually being stronger than potentially what one of the large language models can kick out, where it doesn't have all the other context necessarily. So that is a use case. I think also for businesses that are running pretty lean on the tech side, being able to just turn it on and plug and play, that's a massive advantage for them.
To turn on NetSuite Next.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you're paying for your licensing, and it's a fantastic product, but it's not cheap to run a platform like that. So being able to tap into those tools and those features that they're adding, that's amazing value that you're getting there. And, in the same breath, you're probably not having to build out an enormous tech team to support it. People are going to be able to use natural language queries to go through all of their data, chasing accounts receivable, AP. There's so many three-way reconciliations. There's so many basic features that the feature's going to allow people to do that historically would have taken a lot of time.
Talking about costs, how many tokens does the AI connector use when you're doing these kind of reports? And have you had any indication from NetSuite around comparative with NetSuite Next?
I think the reality probably with NetSuite Next is that it probably will initially affect concurrency a little bit, just in terms of the speed when you've got multiple licensees that are all running big queries at the same time. But I'm not actually sure until we've sort of used it and experienced it. I'm not sure if it actually will affect concurrency. Obviously with the AI connector and using Claude, it's a little bit different because you're calling that data once a day, or you set the time horizon for calling that data. So whilst it is a live feed and you can trigger when you want it to call that data, it's not constantly pinging. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that affects latency, or it may not at all. And I think NetSuite probably, or the Oracle guys probably well aware of, if it is, affecting performance levels and things, how they can open up the bandwidth, nodes, whatever it is required to make sure that it's not a drain on the speed. But look, I mean, on the AI connector side, so far so good. It's been amazing. So,
I mean, what's the spend on that to run that for your reporting on a daily basis? Yeah, is it significant?
Zilch. Yeah. Other than the licenses that are required for Claude, the enterprise, the enterprise licensing. So that's been it's a sort of plug and play. You talk about cost on one side, but the cost savings from having technology like this available.
Can you give me some examples of Claude and how it saved you money?
The main thing is the production of reporting. So all those things I mentioned before, looking at out of stocks, the movement of stock between warehouses, reconciliation of that, transfer of SKUs from one family to another, expiry date, making sure that things are not, aging in our robotic system, sitting up the back somewhere, gathering dust. All of those reports historically were run by our business analyst team. They've had to build those reports. These are super clever guys, but they're spending hours and hours just pulling data, putting it into a presentation and sending that out to the production team, the warehouse team, the finance team, so that they can digest that information.
And how long does it take with Claude?
It's seconds. Probably a few days to build all of those reports, but those reports are now automated. They just go out once a day through those Slack channels to the relevant people. And the guys don't have to get involved at all unless there's an issue with the data and the team come back to them to have a look at querying, why there might be an exception.
So what are those business analysts doing now? Just hanging out?
Yeah, just eating the protein bars and the RTDs in the fridge. No, I mean, this is the beauty of it. It allows them to do all the insight-driven work, and they keep building. The next phase is looking at how they can support our forecasting and budgeting with similar tools in the supply chain space. How can they support the sales team around, CRM and customer management? It's just, there's so many use cases. And I think the other thing we want to do is unlock our guys to drive projects, big transformational changes in the business that we historically haven't been able to always get to because people are in the minutia.
Like what?
Growth of our physical presence is a massive one for us. So we're moving to a new facility at the end of the year, and that includes moving all of our production, the robotics. We've got another facility that we're also building for a new product down in Melbourne. So there's a whole raft of systems changes that need to happen in concert with that, and moving our office too. So it frees up those guys to do analysis around, business cases, supporting, capital investment into those projects, the systems and technology that are going to be required to, support those changes too. So it's about, unlocking the menial stuff so that you're really getting people focused on stuff that's driving the business forward. And that speed of scale thing, it's huge. I think people who take advantage of these tools as quickly as possible are going to move infinitely faster than people who don't.
How long have you had this AI connector up and running?
So the AI connector, I think it's only been about, I'd say less than 2 months. So it's a brand new sort of feature that we're sort of playing around with. So it's still test and trial.
And so you're saving all this time. Does that mean you cut any roles or?
No, we had a really great conversation. Ben led the conversation with everyone. Like,
He's a CEO.
Yeah, he is, and the founder. And we have no intention of removing anyone. We are so lucky to have the people that we have who've got us to where we are now. The messaging is all about be open, be proud of using AI, show people how you're doing it, bring other people along on the journey, and find other ways to use your time when you're starting to park all those things that you would come into work and hated doing every day, but had to because they're BAU requirements. That's the key for us, and allow the business to scale at speed with the great crew that we've got there. I mean, we're a people business. We manufacture our own products. We do all the fulfillment. That's fundamental to who we are. That's sort of our DNA. So, I honestly think, it might be a little bit like the sustainability thing where people actually choose to allocate their dollars to businesses that are employing people. There's probably a premium there for businesses that support, employment. So, down the track, maybe, that actually is a bit of a feature of the business, is to have that human-centric focus and use, technology and AI to support people, but have them working together, not, eating each other. So,
have you experimented with any AI workflow tools or systems external to NetSuite?
We've been fortunate. We're working with our partner Fusion 5 on building out some really good flows, in terms of our raw materials, how that flows through our production facility and into the warehouse and out to customers. So we're pretty happy with the way things are moving at the moment. So but as you move into different channels and different markets, that can change very quickly because it's not a one size fits all often for those things. So
Fusion 5 helped you with the Claude side too?
Actually our tech guys have been doing most of that. They've sort of taken it upon themselves to educate themselves and learn, and a bit of support from those guys too, just to get plugged in and understand the MCP and how to connect in. But they've been doing a lot. Largely all that work's been done internally.
Fantastic. So you think it's realistic for companies to be able to use the AI connector themselves and just start cracking on with Claude?
I think what you need to do is set yourself a bit of a North Star. What do you want to use the technology for? What are the problems you're trying to solve? Not bite off too much.
What was your North Star?
Operational efficiency. So looking at some of these things that were bugbears of both people in the business and also, the analytics team having to produce information for them on a recurring basis. A lot of time wasted and energy wasted there, and it's not value adding work. It's just stuff that needs to be done. So that was the key for us. There's lots of other use cases in the commercial space and other parts of the business which people can explore with, but for us we just wanted to sort of start there and slowly phase it in, step through the business and identify places it can help and bring people on the journey. I think Big Bang Theory with this stuff, it's a lot of change for people to accept. So you've just got to do it systematically and get people to understand how beneficial it can be.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lachie.
My pleasure. Thanks, Shelter.
2 months in and True Protein are happy with the results. But there's still questions that can't be answered just yet. Will finance leaders prefer building reports through Claude? Or will they shift to NetSuite Next once it's widely available? What does the long-term cost comparison look like? And how does one model perform against another for this kind of work? My name is Sholto, and you have been watching Scale 100. See you next time.